appreciate you taking the drive from Sarasota.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Across the swamp.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good. It was nice little drive, man. A lot of construction, hit some rain, but it was good.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you coming out. Yeah. Where are you from originally?
I was born in San Diego, California, on a naval base. My biological father was in the Navy, so we traveled a lot. And it's too hard to say, though, because I was born there. I lived in Colorado, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, until I finally settled here. So I moved around a lot as a kid.
Were all of those moves because of your dad being in?
Some of them, yes. My parents divorced when I was 2. And so it was kind of my mom going with family.
Got it.
And so my grandparents had lived in Pennsylvania. Then they had relocated to Colorado. So she followed them out to Colorado. I had an aunt in Sarasota. So eventually we shot down to Sarasota, and I've been here ever since.
What age did you come down to Sarasota?
I first came down when I was 6.
Okay.
When I was 6, and kind of grew up here. When I was 20, I moved to New Jersey.
Got it.
For a little bit. Didn't last long. I spent most of my time up there in jail and then came back down.
But okay, so a majority of your schooling was done here in Sarasota. Okay, so you weren't jumping around from elementary school to middle school to high school and having to make all new friends and whatnot.
I did kind of in Sarasota. I mean, I wasn't jumping around city to city, but where I went to middle school was with the rich, preppy kids, and then my high school was in the middle of the ghetto. It's just where we lived. We kind of lived on that line, and Sarasota's grown exponentially over the years.
Yeah.
And so, I still had obviously contact with friends that I went to middle school with and stuff like that, but it's completely different lifestyles, the two.
Yeah. Did you have siblings?
No.
Just only child?
Only child.
Wow. No. What was that like? We demand a lot of attention. What was... I look at my kids now, right? Because they're brother and sister, and they fight constantly over dumb stuff, right? And so I see stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't have a sibling, right? But there was things that I'm sure I missed out on as a kid, and there was, kind of bonding experiences and stuff like that. But my mom and my stepdad worked, we were middle class. They had to work their, 9 to 5s. To survive. So it was all right. Yeah. Did you play sports?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What sports did you play?
Baseball primarily was my kind of sport. And so it's what I excelled at and what I loved, and just kind of clung to that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sports team camaraderie is the best.
Oh, yeah.
It's you adopt, 30 friends instantly. And, as you're playing sports over the years and getting older, you're growing with them. And did you play any other sports or just baseball?
I played basketball some. I played football some. Yeah. But baseball was kind of the one that I stuck with.
Yeah. When did you start drinking and dabbling with drugs?
First time 13.
Drugs or alcohol?
Both.
Wow.
Yeah.
You went right for it.
Yeah.
Drinking, just shoulder tapping someone to get you beer or whatever, and just smoking weed?
Smoking weed, yeah. Yeah.
And then that progressed?
So ironically enough, I'm a terrible addict. I get in trouble and I go to jail. That's just what it is. I'm just not successful at it. And so I actually got arrested when I was 13. I lived in an apartment complex. And one of my buddies lived in one of the show apartments where they have a staged apartment where they can show people oh, this is what your apartment is going to look like, right? And there was another show apartment that didn't have anybody living in it. And he was like, oh, they have a little lockbox on it with the key. And he's like, I wonder if it's the same code. And he plugged it in and it was a key. So we had a fully furnished apartment. And so me and all my buddies told our parents, we're staying at each other's house. And we went there and smoked weed all night. We were smoking cigarettes and just being stupid. And one of the kids ended up getting caught by their parents and kind of told everybody what was going on. And so all the parents told the apartment complex because it was the right thing to do. And the apartment complex pressed charges. And so it was a bit excessive, but 6 cops came storming down into my apartment like I'm some, kingpin.
Fugitive on the run.
And I was so scared. They were like, do you have any pot? Because we'll find it. And like I had some hidden in a rollerblade. That's how young I was, man. You know what I mean? Like we used a rollerblade and I gave it to them. And so they arrested me. And I don't know about other cities, but in Sarasota and Bradenton, they have a thing called teen court where everything is done by your peers. So your lawyer is a teen, the defense is a teen, the juries are teens that have all been through teen court. And they basically gave me the max across the board of what they could give me, which was like 6 weeks house arrest, and I had to write letters to everybody and had to do community service and kind of do all that. And so that was enough to scare me straight for about 3 years. And then I picked back up. I'll never forget. I picked back up 420 when I was 16. And it was off to the races.
You pick back up drinking, smoking weed again.
Yep. And then started dabbling into painkillers. I had hurt my shoulder playing sports. Went to the doctor. They were like, surgery, but there's like a 65% chance of re-tearing it. You can't lift anything over 5 pounds for like 6 months. And I'm like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And they wrote me a script for some painkillers. And that kind of started the cycle. The weird part is they used to make me sick.
Yeah.
They used to make me sick. And I would still want to do them. And so like, I remember a perk 10, I used to have to break in half, take half, wait 30 minutes, and then take the other half. And like, that's how I didn't get sick. And then sometimes I would take too much, but I would still just continue to do it. And so it just progressed rapidly over the next couple of years.
So 16 years old, you're prescribed. And did your parents just let you hold them and take them as needed?
Yeah.
I feel like back then, parents just didn't know. No one really knew.
Well, if you look at it back then, right? Like, I mean, here's the reality. I'm be 40 this year, right? So we're going back.
We're the same age, yeah.
We're going back 24 years. There was a stigma around addiction. Like addiction wasn't talked about like it is now. There wasn't like social media wasn't really like a thing yet. Like there just wasn't a whole lot of exposure.
Yeah. It's funny when I used to take perks or Vicodin or hydrocodones, I would get sick and then the sick would wear off and I'd feel amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to do that again. And then I kind of just broke through that
Me too.
initial nausea feeling that I would get. And then it just went away completely.
Yeah.
All right. So you're 16, you start dabbling now in painkillers.
Yep.
Did the drinking and the smoking weed it was there, but take a back seat, and was your focus now on painkillers and perks? Hey guys, quick update. Every Monday night, I host the Rise Above Recovery meeting. It's an open meeting for any addiction, alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, whatever you're struggling with, you're welcome here. To get the meeting link and weekly updates, just email me at kevin@riseabovepod.com and I'll add you to the list. Also, if this podcast has helped you, please like, subscribe, or leave a rating. It helps us continue to spread the message of hope. Lastly, if you'd like to go even deeper with Rise Above, check out our Patreon. Supporters get access to live interviews and can chat with guests after the interview. Thank you.
Alcohol kind of took a back seat. Weed didn't. Weed was prevalent in my life. Like I was, wake and bake, kind of smoke all day, smoke at night. So that was kind of hand in hand. That was actually the main culprit. That was my main thing that I used. And then I would do painkillers. Like it escalated quickly, but it would start on like a Friday, Saturday night, for a while. And then it was like, oh, well, it's Tuesday. I'm bored. Let's get some Vicodin.
Yep.
And so it just kind of progressed that way.
Did you graduate high school?
No, I didn't. I actually got kicked out halfway through my senior year for Christmas breaks, 2 weeks. I decided mine was going to be 2 months and just tried to stroll back into school. And they're like, you don't go here anymore. Like we kicked you out 6 weeks ago. And of course that instantly put me in victim mode where like the world's out to get me.
I played sports. Like, I don't understand. Like, why are they singling me out? And so, I didn't graduate, and I jumped into my work, which at the time was the restaurant business, right? Which is not conducive to a young addict's lifestyle at all.
Yeah.
Because you get exposed to a lot of things.
Yeah, there are a lot of drugs in the restaurant business. What did your parents say when you didn't go back to school for 2 months?
Again, they used to leave before I had to get up and go to school. They were already out of the house. So I would just sleep, and I was home before they got home.
So they had no idea.
They had no idea.
Do you remember when you told them that you got kicked out?
Yeah.
What did they say?
They were furious.
Yeah.
They were furious. My stepdad is a very by the book guy, right? It's either black or it's white. There is no gray area. And it caused a lot of conflict with me and him growing up. And it wasn't until much later in my recovery journey that I saw the man that he actually was. And like, he's my best friend now. You know what I mean? I talk to him every single day.
Yeah.
And so, but at that time, he was my enemy.
Yeah.
How
long did you stay in the restaurant business once you kind of dove into it after your dropout?
So I was in the restaurant business from the time I was 16 until I was 25.
Okay.
And I was just, I love to cook. I love the fast pace. It's not, sitting at a desk in front of a computer is just, it gets old. And there's nothing boring about the restaurant business. And so it just excited me, the nightlife. I used to be able to go with all the servers and, everything over to the Applebee's across the street, and they wouldn't even card me. And so I'd just be able to drink at 18 with everybody and party, and got introduced to a lot of different drugs.
Yeah.
That's kind of where things really took a wild turn.
So you said at 20 years old, you went to Jersey. Why'd you go to Jersey?
So even though at that time I was in full-blown addiction, I remember the day where I woke up and I was dope sick and I didn't know what dope sick was. I'll never forget. And I always held a job, and I always excelled at that job, which is, I don't want to say different than a lot of addicts, but a lot of addicts were like, I don't have time for work. I got to go hustle but like, I needed that income, that steady income. And so I worked for Bonefish Grill, and I learned the entire kitchen, and I learned the front of the house, and I became a traveling trainer for them. And so I opened the store in New Jersey, and I was up for the assistant kitchen manager position at my restaurant that was actually in Lakeland. And they didn't give it to me. And again, victim mode. They're out to get me. Well, why don't people believe in me? And when I'm opening that store in Jersey, the guy there offered me the kitchen manager position. And I was in a relationship at the time that I was no good for her. She was like a good girl, like good family, good girl, good upbringing, had a lot going for her, and I was an absolute train wreck. And so I took the position in New Jersey because it was one of those that I thought it was the best for me. It was the way that I could make the most money and just kind of be able to do what I wanted to do. The problem with that is that's where I got introduced to heroin. And when I say my downfall was so fast and so fierce, because I opened that store, keep in mind, this whole time I've held jobs, and within 6 months of moving up there, I became addicted to heroin, IV drug user at this point, got fired from that job, got hired by Carrabba's, got fired at Carrabba's, and was sitting in jail facing 8 years in prison in a span of 6 months. And never had a felony on my record ever. I'd gotten caught for pot when I was 13, and I had gotten a misdemeanor caught for pot when I was 18. That was it.
Can you walk us through the first time you shot heroin in New Jersey?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I moved up there, Bonefish was putting me in a hotel with the thought that I would find my own place, but all my money was going to drugs, right? And when I went up there with a specific amount of drugs when I opened that store. And me and my girl back home had just broken up. So my using increased and I ran out. And so, of course, I'm in the restaurant business. I start talking to the cooks, right? And I'm like, yo, can you get anything? Can you get anything? And I was trying to get methadone because I know at least methadone could hold me over. And he's like, yeah, I got you. We'll go after work. And I was like, okay, cool. And so he takes me to the projects, right? Again, up north lifestyle is completely different than down here, right? It's way different. You're from New York, you know. Mm-hmm. It's way, way different. And
do you know what hood he took you to?
Yeah, he took me to a place called Elizabeth.
Oh, yes.
Right? Uh-huh. And so he took me to the projects. And it's so crazy. We meet this guy. He's got his pregnant prostitute chick. He's like, my girl's gonna ride with you. She hops in the back seat. We're driving in the hood down these random streets. I have no idea what's going on. Some dude hops in the back seat. They do the transaction. He gets out. She's like, all right, drive. So I start driving. And I was like, here, let me get some. And she's put bags of heroin in my hand. And I said, this ain't pills. She's like, it's what he had. And so I started snorting it, right? Because that's what I did. That's how I did my pills, my Roxys and Oxys and stuff like that. And within a short period of time, Bonefish stopped paying for my hotel, and I moved in with my drug dealer. She had this beautiful house, and she was like, you can stay here, right? And it was so wild how it went. She used to wake me up every morning with a bag of heroin and a crack rock. I'd never done crack at this point, right? And within a span of 2 weeks, the people that were coming over, I'm watching them shoot up, and I am watching them in a completely different realm than I am, just snorting it. And so there was an older guy there, and I was like, yo, like, you got to show me how to do that. He's like, nah, you don't want to do this. And I said, yeah, I do. Like, show me, right? And actually, the first thing I ever shot was coke. That was the first thing that I ever shot. And we're sitting on the couch, and he's like, all right, you got to do this. Make sure you always have a clean needle. Walks me through the whole thing. I have really good veins. Cool. Not really conducive to, right? My life, but whatever. And I did it, and I will never forget the feeling. I mean, instant. It's just absolutely instant, through the roof. And I was just, from that moment, the needle becomes the addiction at that point. You know, I mean, there's a whole nother addiction on top of the addiction. And so it just spiraled so fast. So
you're living with this drug dealer / prostitute?
No.
Oh, so that was his girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. But you're living with the drug dealer. You now learn how to shoot up. What prompted you then? Now you're full-blown IV heroin user. Prompted you to move back to Florida?
I started stealing money from my job, right? It was a brand new store. And so there was constantly people floating. And I had keys to everything. And so I would go into the registers and just take some money. Then I would go in the safe and take some money. And they knew it was me, but they could never prove it. And so they basically came to me and they're like, listen, we know you're taking money. We can't prove it. So these are the two options. Either you quit or we let you stay here. You will do it again and we will catch you. And I was like, I'm out. And so I quit. And I, again, will never forget, I called my mom and she was going to fly me down for Christmas. This was right around my birthday. My birthday is October 30th. And I was like, I want to come home for my birthday. And she's like, all right, but if you do, I can't fly you home for Christmas. I said, that's fine. And so she books a flight. I get paid the day my flight leaves. That same old guy that taught me how to shoot up, he had a little rinky-dink van. I was like, hey, take me to Newark Airport. Let's score some dope because I need to take this with me so I'm not sick when I'm home. And so in Jersey, they have $10 stamp bags of heroin, right? A bundle is 10, a brick is 50. So I bought a brick and they sell their Coke in little $10 vials. They're called clips, right? And I bought like 20 clips. And I told the dude, listen, I want to get right. So drive around a little bit before you drop me off at the airport. He's like, all right. So I'm doing my thing in the back seat. I just shoot up. I look up. We're pulling up to the airport. I'm like, fuck. And I'm dressed in like nice clothes, like it's going to fool anybody, right? My cheeks are sunk in, right? It's just like I'm 115 pounds soaking wet. And I had this brilliant idea that if I take the drugs and wrap them in a condom, if there's dogs, they won't be able to smell through the condom. I don't know where that line of thought even came. And so I had it and I had a rubber band. And so I put it on the inside of my leg and I had the rubber band that I put around it, right? And it was holding it. And I'm going through TSA. And the line is so long and I get like 5 people away from going through the metal detector and the rubber band snaps. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm wearing khaki pants, right? And like I'm too afraid to move. And so I take a step forward, it comes dislodged. I take another step, it falls out the bottom of my pants. The funny thing is too, it was a purple condom for some reason. So there's this big purple thing with all this drugs and needles and like all this shit in it that's on the ground, right? I fucking panic and I lift my shoe and I shove it in my shoe and I get out of line and I walk and I go and I sit down and I'm just looking around to see if like I've been caught, right? And luckily nobody saw anything. People in Jersey kind of just mind their own business. And I go in the bathroom and I was like, all right, that's not going to work. So I put it on the bottom of my foot and put my sock over it. And it's a big thing, right? So I go back through the TSA. And this was right around the time where there was a dude who got on a plane and had explosives in his shoes. And so I get up to the thing and the guy's like, shoes. And I was like, huh? He's like, take off your shoes. And I was like, oh, fuck. And so I took off my shoes and I'm like, he's like, put them on the belt. And so I put it on the belt. I walked through the metal detector and I got through. Couldn't freaking believe it. Got through, got my stuff, instantly went to the bathroom to get high. Couldn't freaking believe it. No.
You make it through.
I make it through. I get on the plane. I come back. My girlfriend, the chick that I had broke up with, picks me up from the airport. We go back to her place. I'm an IV drug user at this point, but I'm not a good one yet. I'm not quick. Like it takes me time. Yeah. She can't figure out why I'm going to the bathroom every couple hours and I'm in there for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And end up staying with her for like 3 or 4 days, then stay with my parents, use all my drugs. So I come back empty-handed and instantly like this was the first time in my life I couldn't hold a job. Like I couldn't get my shit together.
Your job was your identity.
Yeah. And it just spiraled out of control. And I had become friends with the kid and he was renting a room from these people and he wanted to get clean and I wanted to get clean.
No, this is in Sarasota.
No, this is back.
So you ended up going back after the trip. Did your mom even notice anything or not really?
I think she did, but I think it was one of those, like, she's just always saw the best in me.
Yeah.
And like probably a little bit of denial.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you see pictures of me, there's no freaking way.
Yeah.
You can't tell. Like I'm a fucking skeleton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Florida wearing long sleeves in the middle of summer. Right?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying, okay, so now you're back in Jersey.
Yep.
You're living with this dude who's trying to get clean.
I'm living with my drug dealer. But I'm friends with
the guy
this
that's
kid who's trying to get clean.
Okay.
I'm trying to get clean. He's got a car. I don't. He's like, we just need enough money to get down to Florida and we'll go to rehab and get right. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, he's like, these people I live with have a lot of stuff and they work all day and I go to work. He was a mechanic. He's like, you could rob the place when nobody's there, right? And that's exactly what I did. I broke through the window. They had a bunch of stuff. They had a Nintendo Wii that had just come out. They had some video game systems. They had a huge change jar. I loaded my pockets. I mean, I just took all this stuff, right? And I'm walking down the street and I go to McDonald's. I have all this stolen stuff. I'm waddling because I got so much change in my pockets. And I call him from the payphone. And he's like, all right, I'm off in an hour. Just sit tight. So I was like, okay. Hour comes. 2 hours come. 3 hours come. Now I start becoming paranoid, right? At one point, I'm behind the dumpster behind McDonald's peeking out. Like I'm like, something's going on here, right? And I was like, fuck it. Hopped on the bus, caught the bus downtown. I'm crossing the street and a cop is sitting, waiting for me to cross. And the Wii busts out the bottom of the bag that I was carrying it in because I was carrying it like a fucking Walmart bag, right? And I'm like, oh, I just pick it up and keep walking. And I'm going to take the train to Newark. That was my plan. And I was just going to trade all this stuff for drugs. And I was like, let me call him one last time. I call him. He's like, dude, they know. I'm like, how do they know? He's like, I don't know. I came home. They got questioned. There was cops here. Nobody brought up your name. Like, they don't know it was you, but they know that I had something to do with it. He's like, where are you? I said, I'm at the train station. He said, all right, I'm coming to get you. And he came, picked me up, and we headed to Elizabeth. And I called a connect up there, and he was going to give me 2 bricks. So he was going to give me 100 bucks for all the stuff that I had. He's like, but I only have a brick today. I'll give you the other brick tomorrow. I said, okay. He gave me the brick. We're getting high. He's like, oh, I got a buddy's house we can chill at for the night. I said, sweet. So we go to this kid's house, and it was like, I'm 20. It was like a bunch of like 17 and 18-year-olds who just drank and smoked. They didn't do what we were doing, right? And so me and him are taking turns going back and forth to the bathroom, getting high.
Who are these losers?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
And he's like, oh, I got to go get my phone charger out of the car. And I was like, all right, I'll take a walk with you. I want to smoke a cigarette. And so we go out there and cops just come out of everywhere. And I had all the bags in a Newport box. And I saw them all coming. And I tucked the Newport box under my nuts, right? And just held it between my legs. And the cops are like, oh, what's your name? And I give him an alias. And they have me and him separated. They're questioning him. They're questioning the kids. They're questioning me. Cop comes up to me. He's like, listen, I know that's not your name. This thing is going to show me your picture in about 30 seconds. So if you tell me now, I won't charge you with, lying to the cops. And I said, all right, I gave him my name. They booked me for burglary for that house I just robbed. They take both of us down. They haven't found the drugs yet. I still have the drugs, right? And I'm trying to maneuver in the cop car while I'm handcuffed to like hide them better. Couldn't. We get down to the police station. We're there for hours. They process me. They're getting ready to take me to the county. And it's like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm exhausted. I fall asleep on the table. And the one cop yanks me up. And when he yanks me up, the cigarette box falls out. And I get caught with all those bags of heroin. So now it's intent to distribute. The kid lived right across the street from a park. So it's intent to distribute near a park, which is minimum 5 years. Possession, they racked up, there was like 12 charges that I was charged with. And I go to jail. And in Jersey, right? And it's a completely different world up there. Middlesex County Jail is a completely different, it's 150 dudes in a dorm. It's a 3-story dorm, all open base. So there's no cells. There's gangs. I'd only seen gangs on TV up until that point. So it was a whole new world that I was just exposed to instantly like that.
How long did you sit in there for?
11 and a half months. They were trying to give me 8 years. And I had a public defender. And the public defender was terrible. And they just kept delaying the case. And then she sent the baggies away to get fingerprinted. And I told her, I said, why would you do that? Like, I counted each of those bags individually myself.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, just trust me. And it came back, and not one of my fingerprints came back on the drugs, right?
Did she know the person doing the testing?
I don't know. I don't know. She was wild. And the kid that I had gotten arrested with was already on probation for possession of heroin. So it kind of, even though it was caught on me, it kind of caused suspicion, right? Well, come to find out, he was a confidential informant the whole time.
Oh,
yeah.
My God.
Was trying to set up my drug dealer, was doing like all of this, right? And so I'm going through all of this in there, fighting this case. For some reason in New Jersey, and don't ask me why, manufacturing heroin is less of a charge than distribution. Doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But 11 and a half months later, I went to court and she said, listen, she goes, they're going to give you time served and 3 years probation. If we sign today, you got to plea out to manufacturing heroin. I said, run it. Let's go. I'm out, right? And so I signed the paperwork and got released. There was snow on the ground. When I got arrested, I was in flip-flops and gym shorts and a tank top, and I'm walking down the street in the snow, happy as can be. Happy as can be.
So you get out of there. Do you go back to Florida?
So there was a plan with me and my biological father. We actually don't speak.
Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of one of those instances that it was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. He had promised me a place to stay when I got out because I had an uncle in Jersey. Promise me. Well, I go back. I'm like, hey, I'm getting released. He's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to stay with your uncle. And so I was like, fuck. Didn't know what I was going to do. They took NA meetings into the jail once every 2 weeks. Out of 150 dudes, there was me and one other guy that went to these NA meetings. That was it. And it was a kid who was about my age. And when I was in jail, I had a list of phone numbers of people that I met. A lot of them not the right phone numbers to get, right? Drug dealers, stuff like that. I get out. I'm walking down the highway in snow, basically with little clothes on. Truck pulls over. He's like, you just got out the county? I said, yeah. There's this Asian dude. He's like, come on, I got you. And so I hop in the car and he's like, yeah, man. He's like, when'd you get out? I said, just now. He's like, yeah, I did 17 years in prison for murder. And I'm like, oh, God.
Where are you taking me?
Yeah. He's like, come on, I'm going to take you somewhere, get something to eat. And so he took me through the McDonald's drive-thru, got me food. And he's like, listen, he's like, I got to go to work. He's like, where are you trying to go? I said, I need to go downtown and check into probation. And so he's like, all right, I'll drop you downtown. Got me food, dropped me off downtown. I go into probation. I'm like, hi, my name is Philip. I'm here for this. You know, they're like, yeah, you're not in our system. And I'm like, okay, but like, how many people do you get that like come here and voluntarily want to be on probation? Like, I'm not here for shits and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I got sentenced to 3 years probation. You're not in our system. There's nothing we can do. I had $20 in my pocket. That was it. I go to the payphone. I try to call my mom. She didn't answer. Tried to call my biological father. He didn't answer. Tried to call I had an aunt in upstate New York. She didn't answer. So I bust out these phone numbers and I find the kid's number who I went to NA meetings with. And I called him. He's like, where you at? I said, I'm at the bus station downtown. He said, I live 2 blocks from there. I'm coming. Don't go anywhere. So I see him. And it was like, as soon as I saw him, it was like a sigh of relief. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, like I'm going to be good. I'm going to be safe. And I give him a hug and we're walking to his place. He's like, hey, I got you a little release day present. He's like, open your hand. So I open my hand. He puts 2 bags of heroin in it. And my heart sunk, right? Because that entire 11 and a half months that I was locked up, the first 6 months, there wasn't an hour that went by that I didn't think about getting high. And then it took the next couple months where it was only once a day. And then by the end, I was so over drugs, I wanted nothing to do with them.
So you didn't use once. You had been essentially clean for this entire 11 and a half months.
Yeah.
Okay, so he puts the 2 bags of heroin in your...
We get back to his house. I don't even hesitate. I go in the bathroom and I snort it. I snort 1 bag. I was so sick. It was too much. I was puking. He's like, all right. He's like, call whoever you got to call. So I called my aunt. My aunt's like, where are you? I'm coming to get you. She's like, it's 6 hours away. She's like, I'll be there. And I just laid on this kid's couch, just sick, high out of my mind. She picks me up and she brought my uncle and my 2 little cousins. And I'm in the back seat and I am like, she's like, what's wrong? I said, I ate too much food. They warned me about after you've been locked up for too long to be careful. I was like, I'm just not feeling good. We finally get back to their place and I take a shower and I come out and I have a towel wrapped around me. And she's like, did you wear your sandals in the shower? And I was like, oh, I'm just used to it, right? I'm just used to it because of jail. And I just felt like such a piece of shit, right? And I call probation the next day. I'm still not in the system. I call them every day. And like 2 weeks later, they're finally like, okay, you're in our system. But you've already violated because you're not in the state of New Jersey. And so the probation officer, like my aunt gets on the phone and she's like, listen, he did everything by the book. Like, what do we need to do? And he's like, listen, I won't violate him if you guys come every 2 weeks. He's got to do piss tests every 2 weeks and we'll work on getting the probation transfer down to Florida. That process took 6 months. So every 2 weeks, we're making that 12-hour round trip so I can go pee in a cup. And we finally get my probation transferred back down to Florida. I come back down. I talk to my parents. And I'm a good talker, right? And I told them exactly what they wanted to hear. And a part of me in that moment believed my own bullshit. And so they're like, all right, you can live with us, but there's going to be some rules. You got to go to meetings. You got to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, cool. I go get a job in a restaurant and I'm going to probation. And within about 2 months, I'm right back to my same old shit. Full-blown active addiction. Opiates, reefer, everything. And I'm getting high every single day. I'm taking one of those detox drinks on my way to probation. And for I was on probation for 3 years. I had already been on for 6 months. For the next 2 years, my PO never piss tested me once.
Oh my God.
Right? And then I get arrested for burglary.
What happened?
A friend of mine, his dad was a dealer. And he wanted to build a porch. He wanted to build himself a porch. And he's like, if you help me, I'll pay you with drugs. And I said, perfect. So we built it and he had all this scrap aluminum on the side of his house. And one day I just went and loaded up my car with all the aluminum, right? And he called the cops on me. And so I get arrested for burglary in Manatee County. And I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to take this bus ride back to Jersey because I just violated probation. I go for first appearance and they ROR me. And I was so confused. I wasn't arguing, but I was like, how are they letting me out? I'm on felony probation from another state. And they let me out. And when they let me out, I kind of came clean with my parents. And my mom's like, you have got to go to rehab. And that was my first introduction into rehab.
How old are you at this point?
I was 25.
25. Okay. So you come clean to your parents. They say, okay, let's go away.
Yep.
Inpatient.
Yep.
Did you do that here in Florida?
Yep.
Okay.
In Sarasota.
What was that experience like?
It was, here's the thing. Because I moved around so much as a kid, and even like, you know, preppy middle school, ghetto white high school, I was able to adapt to any environment. Like I can go into jail and adapt, which later in my recovery journey caused a lot of problems because I noticed that like I was just a chameleon and I didn't know who the fuck I actually was. But rehab was fine. Like I excelled. And for some reason, the common theme in my life is I've always excelled and people have always let me slide with way more shit than they should. It was a huge rehab. It was super popular in Sarasota. There was a guy running it who was like somewhat famous in the recovery world. And it was my job to break every rule that I possibly could. Like they don't want you fraternizing with girls. So I was fraternizing with girls. You know, they don't want you sneaking food back to the dorms. So I snuck food back to the dorms. Like I just did everything that I shouldn't have done. And I remember like, even like when you go to recovery meetings, right? Like I introduced myself like, hi, my name's Flip. I'm an addict, right? I went against the grain so much that I used to introduce myself and there is, hi, I'm Flip. I'm in recovery. Just because like I just had to be different. And ended up meeting a girl there, getting into a relationship with her, which is always a surefire way for success, right? And
true love.
Yep. I was there just under 7 months and I commenced the program somehow, get my certificate. And the day that I graduated, my probation got terminated. So my probation officer was like, listen, you have to stay. They court ordered me. After I went into the rehab, they then put the court order on me to stay there. I did everything that I was supposed to do. Obviously, I'm passing all those drug tests. That's fine. Yep. And the day I graduated, I called her because she had graduated a couple weeks earlier. She had an apartment downtown, was living with my actual now wife, ironically enough. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. Why don't you pick up a bottle of wine so we can celebrate? Which is, if there's ever a red flag, right?
Yeah, of course.
I just graduated rehab and you're telling me to pick up a bottle of wine to celebrate.
Yeah.
And so within 2 months, I've burned everything to the ground. We're living out of a hotel. I had gotten her pregnant. I'm bartending downtown, stealing absurd amounts of money. And my addiction is full force.
Did you end up having the child with her?
No. No,
Okay.
she ended up having a miscarriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right back where you started.
Right back where I started.
How long do you guys stay together for?
So within 2 months of graduating rehab, I'm bartending. We're living out of a hotel. My manager fires me. The day he fires me, he's like, I got to go do some paperwork in the back, and just leaves me out in the dining room. I went in the cash registers and took all the money and left. And like 3 hours later, he calls me. He's like, I know you took the money, blah, blah, blah. I called the cops. And it was probably 3 hours after that, the cops came banging on the hotel. She had left, went to St. Pete to go stay with her family. And I was arrested for burglary and possession.
Okay.
And so I'm in Sarasota County at this point, in jail. They end up giving me an 1129, which is, just under a year, but with good time and stuff like that. It's like, it ends up being like 6 months and 3 weeks.
Okay.
It's crazy. And then I had to go answer for the burglary charge from Bradenton. And so I get transported from there to Bradenton, end up doing like another 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of that stay, my mom was like, listen, and this is the first time my mom has ever done this because my mom always put money on my books, make sure I have money on the phone. Like she enabled me.
Yeah, enabler.
And she was like, listen, these are your options when you get out. I'll pay for 1 month at a halfway house, or you can figure it out on your own. And I was like, I've been locked up for the last year. I am not about to go to a place where they're going to tell me what to do. And she's like, okay, then figure it out. Those are your options. Like there is no other option. And so I thought about it and I was like, all right, looks like I'm going to a halfway house. And such a higher power thing, right? I'm walking up to this halfway house after I get out. And one of the kids I was locked up with in Sarasota County comes walking out. He's like, oh, he's like, you're here? I say, yeah. He's like, come on, man. He's like, put your stuff down. We're going to a meeting. And I had just gotten immersed in the recovery community. There's a group of halfway houses in Sarasota that it's not a cash grab for them. They're very serious about the recovery and they put their recovery first. And luckily that's the one that my mom chose, right? And the guy who owns the houses officiated my wedding.
Oh my God.
That's how close I became with them.
Did you not use during the 6 months and then the 5 months so you were clean almost a year up to this point?
Yep.
And how old are you by the time you get to the sober house?
27.
Okay, so you're 27.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you're living in the sober house. This sober house is taking you to meetings. You get immersed in 12-step program.
Yep. I got a sponsor.
Yeah.
90 meetings in 90 days. I got a service commitment. The only people I'm associating myself with are in recovery. And it was the first time in my life that like I actually felt like I belonged, right? Because I had done so much moving and shifting and stuff like this and in different environments. Like I said, I didn't know how to be myself. And so this is the first time that like I don't have to put on a show. I can tell people, hey, I'm a fucking train wreck and I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's welcomed. And I'm told that I'm not alone, right? And so like it was just such an amazing experience, right? And I'm there 6 months. A buddy of mine that I was in rehab with was doing really good. He had like 2 years clean. Me and him end up moving into a house together. And we're good. We're doing the recovery thing, we're going to meetings, we're doing everything we're supposed to. And I end up getting about 3 years clean, right? 2.5 years clean. And I get sick. My eyes turn yellow. My skin starts to turn yellow. And I don't feel bad, but I know it's not normal that I look like this, right? And so I was dating a normie at that point in time. And she's like, you need to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital. They do some blood work. And I'll never forget it. The doctor comes in. And he said, okay. He's like, I got to ask you, do you have your affairs in order? And I said, what do you mean? He's like, do you have like a will in place? And I'm looking at him. I said, will? Will I do what? What are you talking about? Will? He's like, we don't think you're going to make it out of here. I said, I feel fine. And as I'm talking to him, the nurse is hooking me up with an IV, right? And he's like, listen, your kidneys, your gallbladder, your pancreas, everything's shutting down. Like, you're not going to make it out of here. And so my mind is just blown. I'm talking to the doctor. At this point, it's kind of like, wah, 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 wah. Like I'm not even understanding the words that he's saying. And the nurse put something in the IV. And as soon as she did it, I knew it was Dilaudid. I said, what'd you just put in there? She said, Dilaudid. And I said, because I told them, I was upfront. Like when I'm in recovery, like I tell the doctors, even when it's not necessary, listen, I'm a recovering addict. I just want you to know, like if it's anything more than Tylenol or Advil, don't even bring it up. And I just remember sitting back like, well, this is the last ride, right? And that preceded the next 2.5 months of being yellow from head to toe, them trying to figure out what's wrong with me, numerous hospital stays. My skin was itchy from head to toe, but I didn't have a rash. So much so that my fingertips were black from friction burns, from itching. That's how much I was itching, right? And luckily there was a local GI doctor in Sarasota who belonged to a panel of physicians that looked at weird cases and kind of took them on pro bono. He ordered a liver biopsy. The hospital tried to say my liver biopsy came back clean. And this doctor, this little Indian doctor, freaked out in the hospital. He was cussing people out. Like, he's like, how can you tell me? Like, this is medical school 101. He's yellow. His liver is failing. There's no way it's clean. So he sent my liver biopsy to the Mayo Clinic. He just had a feeling. And come to find out I have Wilson's disease, which basically just means my body produces too much copper. And at that point in time, I was really into my physical fitness. Like, the gym is a huge proponent to my recovery because it's just a healthy outlet. And I was taking a lot of supplements. Mm-hmm. And it just overloaded my system. And my liver couldn't process out all the heavy metals on top of the supplements and stuff like that. And literally, once they found that out, he prescribed me to prednisone. I was on prednisone for 3 days and I was good as new.
Oh my God.
Right? And so you would think that going through something like that and almost dying, doctors telling you you're going to die, being so sick. I was never one of those addicts that said that in active addiction, I wanted to die. I never wanted to die in active addiction because that meant I couldn't get high anymore. So I was never in that place. I was so sick. I got on my hands and knees and prayed for God to take my life. That's how miserable I was in this, journey. So you make it through that. And I tell people this all the time, just as much as like the higher power works, believe the lower power works twice as hard, right? I go back to work. I'm not working in a restaurant anymore. I'm working in a call center with my buddy that I live with. I'm a sales manager on the floor. And one of the guys there, his dad had just passed away. And he was cleaning out his dad's house. And he said, listen, he said, I know you've been out of the game for a while. Can you just tell me, I found like 90 OxyContin. Do you have any idea what they're worth? Right? And I was like, I'll find out for you, right? And I sat on that for 2 days. And I reached out to somebody in the program and they told me everything that I should have done. Go to a meeting, share about it, call my sponsor, call my support group, and I did none of it, right? And so I sat on it for 2 days and then I told him, I said, I can get you $300 for all 90. He said, no way. He said, I'll go get him at lunch. I said, perfect. And so that started.
You bought him.
It was me.
Wait, they were 90, what milligram?
40.
And they were the pink ones, the OG 40s. What year is this?
This is, let's see, I'm 28. So this is 12 years ago.
13?
Yeah.
So 13, there were no OCs anymore.
I know.
So the dad had been hoarding them at this house. Yeah. So you got your hands on 90, 40 milligram OCs.
And I had been clean for basically almost 3 years at that point, with the exception of when I would be in the hospital, they would shoot me up with painkillers. But I didn't use, the whole time I was sick, I didn't use.
You're clean, dude.
Yeah.
You're clean for 3 years.
Yeah.
When that's an outside issue. Mm-hmm. When a doctor is prescribing you something and you are being honest about it, which you were.
Yeah.
Were they shooting you up with blood the entire time you were in there, the 2.5 months?
Well, I wasn't in there for a solid 2.5 months. I would be in there for a week and then I would be out for 2 weeks. And then it just got to the point where it was so unbearable that I couldn't take it anymore. And then I would go and check myself back in.
Got it.
And so I was in the hospital out of that 2.5 months, probably a total of 3 weeks.
Okay. So, but that's under doctor's care. Yep. So you were clean this entire time. Okay. So you now get your hands on 90 OG OCs. Mm-hmm. Walk us through it.
I went straight to the bathroom and I snorted one. And it was, I mean, you know the feeling. Yeah. It's fucking incredible, right? And you just feel on top of the world. And I'm in this fucking Shark Tank of a sales environment, right? And I just felt on top of the world.
I had arrived all over again.
Now, the shitty part about all of this, right? As this is going on, you remember all the supplements I took that had made me sick. I had got them from a local nutrition shop, and I'd become cool with the owner over the years. And the reason I had gotten sick, do you remember, have you ever heard of SARMs?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And so I had bought this bulking SARMs and the shredding SARMs. And on the back of it, it says, don't exceed use for more than 30 days. And I had asked the kid that worked at his shop, I said, well, if one's this and one's this, I mean, can I take one after the other? And the kid was like, yeah, that's not a problem. And so that's what I did. And that's what overloaded my system. And I told him, listen, you have to educate your people. Like, I could have died, right? And it's not his fault. Like, I should have fucking put 2 and 2 together. But like, you need to educate your people. This dude felt so bad. He starts doing outreach and gets an entire charity event going for me. Is planning it the whole time I'm sick, right? This whole charity event. When I say charity event, he got big time sponsors, DJ, rock climbing wall, car wash, all this massive event scheduled. He has me on radio shows, like all this crazy shit, right? Now, all of this is getting planned while I'm sick. And his whole point was he wanted to help with my medical bills, which I appreciated, right?
Yeah.
By the time the charity event happens, I'm in full-blown active addiction.
Oh my God.
All over again, right? And this is something, I'm sharing this publicly. I didn't share this part of my story until about a year and a half ago. I denied it because there was so much guilt and shame behind it.
Of course.
Right? Because all these people from the community came and gave me, I got thousands and thousands of dollars. Right? And
really quick.
Yeah.
I want to just add, and this is for the listeners, the viewers. I did the same thing. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate
Proceed.
that. I appreciate that. And
we're not unique, bud.
Yeah, no. I'm in my full-blown active addiction, right? And I'm at work. I'm the sales manager. Supposed to be this guy. And it was probably 2 weeks. I start picking up needle again. And I was on about a 6-month run. And the owners of the company pulled me aside and they said, something's off. We think you're getting high. And you need to go to rehab. And I said, okay. I was it was weird because the only times previous that I had gotten clean was in handcuffs. I was so emotionally, physically, and spiritually bankrupt at this point in time that I was like, okay. I went and told my buddy that I was living with, who I was still living with, who was kind of like my mom. He kind of enabled me, kind of turned a blind eye, and went to rehab, right? The one thing that I'll say is when I went to rehab, I went to the same rehab that I went to the first time. I went with a completely different mindset. I was like, I'm at this point, I'm 29. I was like, I'm so sick and tired of starting over. Like, I'm going to use this time as my mental boot camp and figure out why I keep doing the things that I'm doing. And it was just an incredible eye-opening experience. I've buried more people than I can even remember since, because I've been clean. My clean date's April Fool's 2016. And so, I've been clean ever since. And so in that amount of time in recovery, you bury a lot of people.
Yeah.
I got close with 2 guys when I was in rehab. And this is the first time that I had learned what a boundary was and how to set it and stick to it. And I said, listen, when we get out, like, I'm serious about this recovery thing. If you're not, that's okay, but I have to love you from a distance. And the guy who, the famous guy that kind of ran the rehab, he always used to say, look to the left of you, look to the right of you, 2 of you won't make it.
Oh.
And I used to think that was such an asshole thing to say. And every time he said it in my mind, I'm like, fuck you, dude. You don't know us. Like, you don't know us. And sure as shit, we get out. One of the dudes falls off first. He's in and out of detox. I take him to detox the first time. After that, I was like, You got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I get the call. He died, overdosed and died in a halfway house. And I had to go to that funeral. I had to hug his mom, sobbing, crying. My other buddy, same kind of story. I took him to rehab, in and out. Woke up one day, his girlfriend was dead. She OD'd. He OD'd, ended up in a coma for 3 months. Had to learn how to walk all over again, right? And I had brothers that I had grown up with. 2 brothers. Their mom was one of the head nurses at one of the local hospitals. The older brother had called me because he had saw on Facebook that I was kind of doing good. And he was living at a halfway house. He was doing good. I picked him up. He's like, listen, my little brother, you just can't get right. And like, I don't know what to do. I said, dude, you have got to distance yourself. Like, I know that's your brother and you can still love him, but you have to love him from a distance, man. He has a better chance of you getting him getting you high than you have of getting him clean.
Yeah.
Within 2 weeks after that, he died. 3 days later, the younger brother died.
Oh my God.
And I grew up with these kids, like since high school, right? And his mom, we had the celebration of life at the rehab that I went to. And I can still hear her scream when she saw me. And, you know, it's surreal. It's real life. That deafening scream. You know what I mean? Because it was just the other day that we were 3 just punk ass kids running around.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's unfortunate, but it's the reality.
What do you think the biggest difference was from that 3 years that you had the first time? Like, what didn't you do those first 3 years?
I still had that terminal uniqueness. I still thought I was different. I was willing to do things like go to meetings. I was willing to get a sponsor. I was kind of half-assing step work. Then I get the normal girlfriend, and me going to a meeting every day turns into a meeting every other day, turns into meeting on the weekends, turns into every other week. And then the next thing you know, I couldn't tell you the last time I was at a meeting. Mm-hmm. And so I just became disconnected from the group, right? What I will say is this time around, I did everything different. Everything. I did everything completely different. And I was willing, still am, to do anything. And part of it is being brutally honest, no matter what. And the biggest thing, and this is what I tell people all the time and what I think a lot of people don't realize, and it's what I was searching for in rehab the first time. I was expecting to go to a facility and have somebody tell me, and it'd be this aha moment. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. Everything makes sense, right? What I realized the second time is it is such an internal thing. Yes, I can learn from people. Yes, I get nuggets from all kinds of people, right? And pick up things and stuff like that. But it was an internal dialogue that I had to have with myself. Like, am I really done? Am I really willing to do whatever it takes? And it's not me answering it because that's what you want to hear. It's me having that difficult conversation with myself. You know, it's me having that difficult conversation that when my ass is on fire, I pick up the phone and I tell on myself. Right. And so it's meant everything. You know, I have a fucking beautiful life, man. I get to do cool shit. I got married. I have 2 kids. I have a house. You know what I mean? Like my life today is better than I ever thought I was capable of. You know, when I was in rehab, I was like, I just want like my own place and like a car and like I'll be cool. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And like I get to do the coolest shit. I coach my son's flag football team. We're going middle of July. I take a group of 9 and 10-year-old boys to nationals because we won the championship. And I get to go coach at nationals. Like I get to do cool shit, man. And it's a beautiful thing. I get to have my podcast, you know, with my good friend, and I get to share my experience, strength, and hope. I get to Saturday, I'm talking via Zoom to a rehab in Virginia. You know what I mean? Like, this is the shit that like I get fired up for.
Yeah.
They talk about the gifts of recovery, and early in recovery, I thought the gifts of recovery were like the material things.
Mhm.
Like, cool, I get to have a bunch of clothes and a bunch of shoes and a bunch of cool shit. Like, the gifts of recovery to me are like, I get to be present for my kids.
Mm.
I get to coach youth sports. I have a amazing relationship with my parents. Like, they come over, it's like Christmas Eve tradition. They come over and I cook everybody food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get to spend Christmas Eve putting together 9 million pieces of freaking toys so my kids can have a cool Christmas morning.
Mm.
Like, that's the gifts of recovery for me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, we have this picture in our head when we first get clean and sober of what our successful life would look like. And it's always far exceeded.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. What did you learn about yourself? Obviously, we know the drugs, the alcohol, those are all symptoms of the disease. The real issue is here. What did you learn about yourself?
My biggest thing was there's a couple things. One, I always thought I had a fear of failure. I thought that was like a huge issue for me. It wasn't until doing some counseling and some step work and stuff like that, I found that I had a fear of success, which was attributed by my self-esteem and self-worth issues. My self-esteem and self-worth issues were by far the biggest catalyst to my addiction. I just didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. You know, I didn't know who I was. I just constantly was a chameleon, just adapting to my surroundings. You know, and it started at a young age. It started at 6 years old. I was in Colorado. I was a goddamn cowboy. I used to ride horses and herd cattle. You know what I mean? And do all that. And then I moved to Florida. And I go to this preppy middle school. So now I'm a preppy kid. And then I go to high school in the hood. And so now I'm ghetto, right? And then I go work in the restaurant business, and like I'm just like this restaurant guy now. And like, I never took the time to figure out like what I was actually all about. And so, you know, the self-esteem, the self-worth, the fear of success, which is why my relapses it was never when shit was going bad that I relapsed. I never once relapsed when I was sober and my life was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It was always when everything was good.
Yep.
And so that was probably, you know, the biggest thing that I learned.
What did you do to build up your self-esteem?
It's still a work in progress, to be honest. The first 2 years of my recovery, this time, when I would brush my teeth, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. That's how little I thought of myself. And that's a shit spot to be in when you're sober, right? That's a terrible spot to be in. And again, step work, talking about it, therapy, like when I say I was willing to do anything, I sought any type of possible thing that could benefit me physically, spiritually, emotionally. And I was willing to try it. When I say I tried aerial yoga. I tried acupuncture. I went to this crazy therapist lady. I love her to death, but she used to make me stand like a tree and howl like a wolf. No idea what that's supposed to do, but I did it. Right?
Open-minded.
Yeah, just completely open-minded in understanding that like I needed to figure myself out, right? And it was just, it's been such a journey, right? One of my therapists, when I would walk through groups of people, I would walk with my head down. And she was like, okay, she's like, why don't you try walking with your head up just to see what happens? So I remember the first time I did it, it felt so weird, right? And I was like, oh, that wasn't bad. And so like I just started doing it. And we used to have in rehab, we used to have these morning devotionals where like everybody, guys, girls, everybody would be in the cafeteria and there's like 100-something people. And I was telling her that when I walk in, I think people are looking at me and talking shit, right? Like I think
Same.
like this chick's like, oh, look at this fucking weirdo, right?
Yeah.
And this dude's like, oh, this kid's fucking lame,
He
right?
walks weird.
Yeah. And she said, wow, that's so conceited. And I said, no, I don't think you heard me correctly. I don't think that they're thinking good things. She goes, I was like, I think they're thinking bad things. And she goes, why do you think they're thinking about you at all? How do you know that girl's not like, I can't wait till this meeting's over so I can go blow dry my hair? How do you think that dude's like, I can't wait for this meeting to be over so I can go drop a deuce, right? Mm-hmm. She's like, you're not that important. And like, it was like one of those like aha moments for me, right? I'm like, okay. And so it was just it's a continuous work of progress, right? I try to help people. I try to be a good human being. I admit when I'm wrong. I go to the gym. I work out. Like I do the necessary things to keep the inside good, right? And I still struggle. There's times when, I'm about to turn 40. Like that's a huge milestone. There was about 6 months ago where I was going through like a mini midlife crisis. Like I talked about it on the podcast. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like I'm so lost right now. Right. And like, I just, luckily, because I'm so ingrained in recovery and because I took it so serious, I just took it back to basics. I started doing service. I started, going to meetings. I got plugged in with a local recovery group there. You know what I mean? And I just do what I have to do. And some days are better than others, but the beautiful thing about the journey and the biggest thing that I think that I've learned is just because I'm clean doesn't mean life is always going to be cool. You know what I mean? Like I've had wild shit happen. Like I've had to bury people. My grandpa just died a couple weeks ago. Dude. Listen, he was 97. He lived a great life. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I had I missed so much time with him because I was in active addiction. When my daughter was born, she was born premature and was in the NICU. I had an unhealthy relationship with money up until that point. I thought whoever said money doesn't buy happiness just doesn't have enough. That's truly what I believed. And then my daughter is in the NICU, right? The lungs are one of the last things to develop. I look at the doctor. I said, do we need to Bayflight her somewhere? Do we need to bring in specialists? What do we need to do? He said, I don't think you understand. It's up to her. I'm like, what do you mean, dude? She's 7.5 months. How is it up to her? Like, she can't make that decision. He's like, that's just what it is. This ain't a money thing. This has nothing to do with facilities, doctors, helicopters. This is strictly up to her. Changed my whole perspective on money, right? Went through that clean. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you have all of these trials and tribulations and you have, wins and losses and, failures and successes. And like that, learning how to navigate that clean has been one of the coolest things ever. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I am connected with a group of people that like, I'm never alone. I have a support group and my support group of guys, there was a dude who used to take meetings into the rehab I went to who was like, yes, you need a sponsor. You also need a support group. He's like, for instance, I'm angry. I like to fight. So I have a guy I call when I feel like fighting. I have trouble being faithful in relationships. So I have a guy that I call when I'm struggling with that. I have a guy I call when I'm struggling being a parent. And like that changed my perspective. So like I have an entire staff, right? An entire support group of dudes that like no matter what pops up, like I have people that I can call, man. And I can dump this shit on. And what I love about it is like, I tell people I surround myself with the winners. And the winners doesn't mean that they have the nicest houses or the best cars, but it's the people that aren't going to co-sign my bullshit. It's the people that are going to hear me out and tell me I'm dead ass wrong when I'm wrong.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that so much. You know what I mean? I have, I'm married and there's struggles that happen in marriage, right? And like this stupid thing, my wife hates dishes. I hate dishes too, right? And so like, I went on a strike. I didn't tell her I was going on a strike.
In your head, you went on a strike.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not doing the fucking dishes. I ain't touching them, right? And they pile up and they pile up. And so I call my buddy and I'm like, you never guess what? He's like, what? I'm like, she won't do the dishes. And like, I'm just telling him all this stuff for like 10 minutes. I'm just venting. I'm pacing in my parking lot, just vent. He's like, damn, nah, she's not? No way. That's crazy. He's like, I'm gonna tell you what my sponsor told me. And I think he's about to blow my whole mind, right? With some profound shit. And he said, if you don't like the dishes being there, do them. Click, hung up on me, right? But those are like the people that I surround myself with. Like those are the people that like I need because I'll manipulate with the best of them.
Yeah.
And I need people that are going to call me out on my bullshit. And so it's such a gift, man, to be able to live this life.
So when I first got sober, or when I was trying to get sober, I had a huge fear that once I put drugs and alcohol down, the party's over. Like the fun is over. I'm going to sit and rot in basements for the rest of my life. I'm just going to keep delaying it. I then had an experience once you talked about feeling a part of, I think it was the first time you were sober in meetings and whatnot. And I found a home group where I felt a part of. And that feeling of the party's over kind of lifted. And the feeling that I got was the feeling I was actually chasing by using drugs and alcohol for so long. I'd felt a part of. Did you have that experience in recovery? And, did you have those thoughts approaching recovery? And are you having fun now? Like, is your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course I had those thoughts. I also had thoughts that, as painkillers being my drug of choice, your body hurts when you come off of them, right? And I had convinced myself that like I probably couldn't live life without being in pain, physical pain, as well as I'm never going to have fun. I'm never going to be able to have fun. I'm never going to be able to like do any, like, what's the point? So not only am I not in physical pain, but when I am, it's not that serious, right? It's amazing what Advil does when you're not abusing, right?
Yeah.
Like actual stuff. And I remember like the first time, like I laughed so hard, I was crying clean. And I remember like it was just such an aha moment. I was like, oh shit, like I can really do this. We used to do stupid shit. We would go to the bowling alley, 20 of us. You know what I mean? Like just anything. The most mundane, boring things that people might think. You go with the right group of people and it's a blast, man. And like, of course, like I have fun today. Like, don't get me wrong, life's still life. I still have responsibilities. I have kids. I have work. You know what I mean? Like I have, the normal stresses, but like I wouldn't change it for anything. I get to go and do things. My daughter's a cheerleader. You know what I mean? Like I get to be a part of that. Like I get to have fun. We get to throw them birthday parties. I get to go to baseball games, right? I get to take my stepdad to baseball games. I get to do cool shit, man. And it's just, I was so off base with what I thought recovery was. I had no idea that life could be this amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is.
It is. Well, Flip, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for taking the drive. Do you want to shout out your podcast and your socials?
Yeah. The Tiff and Flip Show. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that. You can find my Instagram at flip.adam live. If you want to shoot me a follow, I'm working on trying to brand myself too, and so that's cool. And we. Tiff and I have a blast, man. We talk about everything in life. We talk about recovery. We talk about parenting, relationships, kind of everything that goes with it. And it's cool having a guy and a girl because we have different perspectives on things. And so if you want to, check us out.
Yeah, your show is amazing.
Thank
I
you.
will plug it in the description on the YouTube and your socials as well.
Yeah.
But again, thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, for getting vulnerable just to help one person out there.
That's what it's about, man.
It's truly a beautiful thing. So I again appreciate you coming out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
man.
bud.